Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Lupus and the City podcast. My name is Angie. Today we are on episode 7. I wanted to talk about work and school accommodations. We have a lot of things going on in the world. We have a new president, we have fires on the West Coast, and we have snowstorms on the East Coast and everything in between. So I thought that it would be very important to talk about these things. A lot of people don't even know that they can go to their employer or school and request certain accommodations. And accommodations could look different to everybody because, as we all know, each case of lupus is different and everyone has different symptoms. So that would mean that we all need different accommodations. For some people at work, accommodations could mean flexible schedules, frequent breaks. There could be modified work assignments. You can have your workstation fitted to you, which could be padded flooring mats, a seat that's adjustable. There's also blockers for, glares. And then you can have your temperature adjusted, your lighting, and also the sound. Sometimes there's access to quiet workspaces. There's even work from home. And I've also seen where some jobs allow you to have closer parking spots because, depending on where you work, you can be having to catch like a shuttle to your actual building of work, or your parking spot. When you're a new employee, you kind of get jumped to the back of the line. So that's pretty cool to know that those are accommodations that, again, can be suitable for you depending on your situation. At school, you can have accommodations such as extra time on your tests or assignments. There could be permission to leave class early if maybe you're not feeling well that day. There's assistance with note taking, reduced or modified workload, flexible deadlines, excused latenesses, permission to make up missed tests or assignments without facing any deduction on points or penalty. So those are just some examples. Me, myself, I had accommodations in high school and in college and at work. In high school, I was diagnosed summer of 10th grade. So when I returned 11th grade, I was significantly slimmer and very tired. So I remember having to talk to my physical education teacher, who actually advised me to seek accommodations because he saw the changes in my physique and my energy. So those changes allowed me to be totally excused from any physical activity that we were to do. So while my classmates were running and throwing balls and things like that, I was able to just sit down and kind of have that quiet time for my body. And I look back now and I'm very thankful for that teacher to have advised me in that way. Other accommodations included my tardiness were excused. Sometimes I got up a little bit later in the morning and I would show up to school a half hour, 45 minutes late, and I never faced any penalty for that. I was also able to leave school early. I sometimes had rheumatologist appointments at 12 or 1 o'clock, and my school allowed me to actually leave early that day. Sometimes my mom would pick me up, but because she worked a full-time job, it would sometimes get pushed onto my older sister. Sometimes she couldn't do it. So I was at an age where I was just allowed to go ahead by myself. And again, that was my unique case that worked for me, but everybody's different. When I worked at my corporate jobs, some of my accommodations were similar to that. I was excused for tardiness. I was able to use sick time on days that I didn't want to come in. So that was really nice because I know you guys know in corporate America, they like to play with our sick time. But there are laws that they have to follow, and that includes the work accommodations. So things that you need to know when it comes to making those accommodations, number one is speak up. If you don't speak up, how are they supposed to know what's going on with you? That's my first piece of advice, is speak up. If they don't understand what you're dealing with, how are they going to understand how to help you do better? We already deal with that. You don't look like you have lupus, or you don't look sick. So if you're not talking about it, unfortunately, those are ideas that are going to continue. those are ideas that they will continue to form about you. And again, accommodations are going to be tailored to every individual need, because just like lupus, every case is different. So what works for one may not work for the other. A second thing that you want to always make sure is you have medical documentation about your condition. You cannot just go to your workspace or your school and say that you want accommodations. You have to actually have documentation of your diagnosis from an accredited physician, because where's your evidence? It's just probably won't happen. And the third thing is that you want to always discuss your needs. If you don't discuss what you need, how do you expect these accommodations to happen if you're not speaking up? You need to make sure that this letter states, your accommodation letter is going to be the request that you write to your employer or your educator and let them know what those accommodations are going to be. Then you will meet and discuss that and come to a reasonable decision as to what accommodations they are going to make for you going forward. You have to know your rights too. That's my fourth point that I'm going to make. In the United States, there is the Americans with Disability Act, which protects individuals who are living with chronic conditions such as lupus. So if you were to bring this up to your employer or school and they automatically try to deny you, then you want to dig a little bit deeper into this, because you do have rights. I know when it comes to school, under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, schools are required to provide accommodations to students with disabilities. So again, that's why it's really important to know your rights. And I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. Do your research. We have the tools. They're available at our hands to just go ahead and dig a little bit deeper if need be. You should never just say okay to an answer unless you yourself do the research. It's always better to know. The more you know, the more you know. And then again, my fifth point is back to my first point. Communication is key. Communication is key to having the system work for you and not against you. And that's really important to know with all aspects of work accommodations. Communication. If you do not talk about it, if you assume, it's more than likely not going to happen. You can't expect people to know what you're thinking or what you're feeling, especially when it comes to your accommodations for an already invisible disease like lupus. So that is my advice to anyone who is seeking help right now. Again, the world is a little bit upside down. We are all stressed. We're all overwhelmed. And when it comes to an autoimmune disease like lupus, it's a silent creeper. So sometimes these feelings that we suppress and the things that we push through can very well come out of nowhere to the forefront and attack you. So if that's ever the case with you, please do not ever be afraid to speak up when it comes to work or school and ask for assistance. There are laws in place for this, and you have rights. So just practice them and know them and utilize them. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, if you want to see any specific subject on this podcast, please, I'm open to it all. Send me a DM, write me an email, write me a comment under this video, and I hope that this message is well received. And if anyone is facing a situation where they're having issues with making those accommodations, I'm really hoping and praying that things work out, and just fight for yourself, advocate for yourself. It's one of the most important things when it comes to having lupus or any medical condition, and utilizing Western medicine. We all know that it's a little bit different out here in the United States. So with that being said, good luck. Love you guys and stay blessed. Peace out.